Good morning, everybody. It's Jim Exby with Compliance Professionals. Today I'm going to talk about complacency handling basic machines. It's tough to imagine modern society without machines hard at work all around us. New and improved machinery leads to increased productivity, higher quality, and more affordable production. But misused machines can be as harmful as they are helpful. Machines that cut metal can cut fingers. Machines that punch through steel can punch through flesh. And injuries like that can be career-ending. So let's be alert to a couple of areas I want to talk about first. The first one is the point of operation. If my finger happens to be a drill bit and we're drilling through a piece of steel or wood like this, the point of operation is where the drill bit meets the steel, the wood, whatever it is it's drilling through. This point of operation right here at the end of a drill bit is where we don't ever want hands or fingers to be. We have to keep ourselves away from points of operation. And likewise, you have to make sure you're wearing the proper personal protective equipment when you're ever working around a point of operation. The powertrain, that's where the energy is transferred through moving parts like gears, shafts, belts, cables, hydraulic or pneumatic cylinders. No body parts should be in these areas either. When working on this type of machinery, always follow lockout tagout procedures if that piece of machinery is going to be worked on, and you should be staying away out of that zone. And it's also a place where guarding should be worn. So let's talk about complacency around machinery. Here's what we have found. When people become complacent and they're working with machinery, that's when problems can occur and people can get hurt. So a few bullet points here. Make sure machines are anchored securely that you're working with. Never reach blindly into areas that may contain energized parts. Be sure there's enough lighting to clearly see what you're doing at all points of operation. Keep conductive items like watches, rings, steel, wool, belt buckles away from exposed electrical parts. Never plug or unplug cords and electrical equipment in with wet gloves or wet hands. Always wear the proper protective equipment for each job. Material handling, power lifts, forklift trucks aren't considered to be a production machine, but their points of operation and their powertrains can be just as hazardous. Mechanical hazards may come from a lot of different areas all at once, and they can have the potential for very serious injuries. Be aware of danger zones where you're working. They're located within your operation, and respect the power of machinery in there. Remember, a machine that can hurt you can be anywhere from a 90-degree angle grinder to a crane carrying large steel beams and setting them down in place. So you've got to be alert when you're on the job. Machinery guards come in all different types, but they're all designed to protect the operator. Guards prevent debris and sparks from flying out of the equipment. Barriers are also designed to prevent a worker from coming into contact with cutting tools or getting trapped in moving parts. Use your personal protective equipment at all times. Even with machinery guards, many operations require the use of safety equipment. Common equipment for most manufacturing plants or where you're on the job, both types of places, many times require glasses, sometimes goggles, safety glove, gloves, closed-in type shoes, steel type shoes. Full wrap goggles sometimes give you the best protection depending on where you're at and what you're doing. Gloves should fit well, but not too snugly. Loose gloves can become caught in equipment. Cut-resistant gloves should be utilized by anyone working around cutting equipment or sharp edges. And workers must be reminded that cut-resistant gloves only reduce the chance for injury. They don't completely prevent it. They wouldn't completely prevent your hand from being smashed if there were steel beams around being lowered onto other beams or onto the ground. They wouldn't protect your feet either, necessarily, if something really heavy objects are around. So please be careful. Proper training. All workers must be properly trained on procedures and equipment before they start operating it or they are around it. All machinery has different safety features and techniques for operation. No employee should ever be allowed to operate equipment without instruction. The person providing the training should assess the worker's skill and make recommendations for any modifications needed to make the process easier and safer for the trainee. Having awareness of your surroundings is absolutely vital, especially where you guys are working. You've got to know what's going on around you at all times. Safety requires being aware of your surroundings, and workers must know what other equipment or machinery is operating in the immediate area. You've got to keep your eyes open. You've got to stay on the ball when you're working out there. Awareness also means the workers should never operate equipment under the influence of alcohol or other substances that can delay your reaction time or interfere with clarity. Forklift paths or lift paths should be marked, and workers should avoid these paths while working while you're out on the job site. Lift operators may not always see an individual if their line of sight is blocked. Workers must avoid the use of headphones while walking, as they can interfere with their ability to hear an equipment warning. Let me give you some causes of accidents while working with machinery. Loose clothing. You know, there was an accident not too long ago. A man was working with a drill press and he got too close to it and it grabbed his shirt and wrapped him up in that drill press. Another guy was wearing a loose glove and he got caught in a drill and it wrapped his whole arm around it. 107 stitches up his arm. So be careful with your protective equipment. Materials can be ejected from machines that are nearby and you can get hit. Slipping and falling. Boy, that's one of the things that you all have really got to look out for. Slips, trips, and falls, especially when you're at height. It makes it just so much of a difference. Please be careful where you're walking and how you're doing it. Contact with sharp edges, rotating gears, belts and pulleys, chains and sprockets, all of these types of equipment that are around you. Complacency on the job is the number one reason why people get hurt. It can happen when you're walking through a work area. It can happen when you're walking through a danger zone and you shouldn't have even gone into it. It can happen as you walk on the job. Remember, would you please remember the 5-second rule? I'm going to go over it again for you so everybody remembers it. Take 5 seconds. What should you do during those 5 seconds? Well, do you have the right equipment? Is it working properly? Is it electrically safe? Do you have the proper tools that you need so you don't have to go back and start over again? Are all your tools in good working condition? Do you check them out at the end of the day when you're done working to make sure that you're ready for the next day? Do you have the proper material that you need, or is it going to be delivered to you? Are you safe? Take 5 seconds. Look around. Anybody put anything down behind you? Are there any holes back here that you might fall into? Is there a ladder that you're going to have to use before you go up it? Are you going to use it properly and safely so you don't fall off it? Take 5 seconds quickly. Look around you. Am I safe? And if you are, then proceed ahead. Go ahead. Work hard all day long. But take those 5 seconds every single time you start a new job. If you do, you reduce the accident rate by 95% for yourself that day. That's a pretty big number. That means that almost everybody's going to go home safe. They'll have all their fingers, they'll have all their hands, their toes. They're going to be happy and they're going to get a good paycheck. Please, everybody, be careful while you're on the job. Beware of complacency. Don't become so satisfied with your work that you're going to just move ahead without thinking. Thanks very much. I want to give you the quiz right now. Number 1, no hands or fingers should be in these areas. I've got A, B, C, and D. Pulley nip points, powertrain such as gears, shafts, belts, cables, hydraulic or pneumatic cylinders, the point of operation, or D, hammer handles. Well, it's A, B, and C. That's where no fingers or hands should be. True or false? Never plug or unplug electrical equipment with wet hands. What's the answer to that one, everybody? True. Number 3, mechanical hazards may come from different areas and have potential for serious injury. True. Beware of danger zones located within your operation and respect the powered machinery. True. Number 5, you shouldn't have to worry about cranes on the job. Somebody else does that. Well, false. Always worry about anything that's moving around you. Thanks. That's it for today. Fellas, I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and a great New Year. Let's make this year absolutely terrific for everybody and safe for everybody. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next month.